Ciao creative friends, my name is Joey Balistreri. Welcome to my channel. Today I am doing a fabulous set of jewelry. Well, I think it's going to be fabulous. So far I'm loving what I'm doing. I am working with the Potomac Treasure Box for the month of October. It was called Enchanted Forest and it was just packed with some beautiful beads, just my colors. So what I've done is pulled out my very favorites. These are so gorgeous. They call these a check prop bead. It has like the properties of a cathedral bead to me, faceting around the center and this dimensionality of kind of a bicone on the ends and a gold wash. And then there were these gorgeous little faceted cylindrical beads. This is a Potomac crystal, and the faceting on this is all the way around this tiny bead, but as a diamond shape. And then we did get this beautiful little tube of opaque navy 11-0 seed beads, and these are the kind of up and coming seed bead called Azuki. I took a few out to show you, and I'm honestly not using these in the project. I love them. I really love them. But if you do get this box, or even if you go on the Potomac Beads website and you purchase seed beads, these are fabulous. The reason I'm not using them is they are 11-0s. And I wanted to work with 20 gauge wire and it doesn't go through those 11-0. So I just went into my stash and got this Duracoat galvanized 8-0 seed bead for my spacers. And I'll tell you what is so fabulous about this jewelry set. This is like all the basic beginner skills in jewelry that we all need. With these skills, what I'm doing in this set, once you master these, you can pretty much do anything in jewelry making. So it is a simple loops, making jump rings, making a simple figure 8 link, maybe a little wire wrapping. I haven't totally worked out my design for the pendant, but it's connecting. And so all the like most basic things and basic tools. So I will be using my 6-step bail making plier. I also have another plier that I really like for jump rings, but you can do everything with this one if that's what you have. You also do not need the 1-step looper, but when I make a beaded chain or a rosary chain or a whole bunch of components with simple loops, this really saves my hand from the twisting motion. And I'll show you, this won't be new for those of you who have been on my channel before, because I use this a lot in my work, but you can totally do your simple loops with your pliers. You don't need this. I just love it. I love the consistency of all the loops. And then our normal jewelry pliers are bent chain nose and regular chain nose pliers. That's what's going into this project. So what I have done is 3 components. These are different beads, but essentially the same. And this is going to compose my design. And then this really tiny, really simple little figure 8 link. And I'm making my own jump rings, and this is what it looks like connected. I absolutely love this little chain. It looks so professional. It looks, like not handmade, because it's so perfect. And to me, this is so relaxing. It's extremely repetitive. So I've done this bit off camera. I'm going to show you how I'm doing these links, and then I'll come back and show you my final design decisions. But I've also already done my earrings, because it is, again, those exact same components. I'm doing the same elements in my plan is to do a necklace, bracelet, and earring set. And there were these 2 little 24 karat gold plated Athena cast heart charms in the box, and I just love them. And I wanted to make little earring drops, and there's no ear wires on these. If you've been here before, then you know why. But I just finished making another pair of earrings, and I love my interchangeable lever back ear wires, so those are going to get slid or popped right on, and that little earring is ready to go. I also have a video that I just did. I kind of figured out like a simple way to make your own interchangeable ear wires, and I just went on a girls beading trip, and my friends absolutely love those ear wires. So I can put a link to that video in the description box if you didn't see it. It's really easy, and I kind of simplified it down there. I'll show a couple of ways to do it, but a really simple way for beginners to make their own interchangeable ear wires. But I can also link these gold filled lever back ones. These are my favorites. I really love these. And then as my boxes come in every month, I get so many bead boxes and I get, you know, cool new beads. I can make my drops and I don't need an ear wire every time I make a pair of earrings. So those are done and ready to go, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So as I said, I'm using 20 gauge wire for everything, and I am using my one-step looper. So I'll just do another one of these and show you quickly. If you're not familiar with the one-step looper, there is a guide hole here, and if you have beads on here, then the guide hole can be useful to put the wire all the way through. But since I'm starting to get my first loop with nothing on, I'm just going to place the wire past this back jaw of the tool because it makes a cut there, so I can skip that step with my cutters, giving myself a nice clean blunt cut. So it makes that cut, it makes the loop all in one step. There's my little scrap of wire, and then I want to pull this wire down so that my loop is centered on this wire. And on these, when I'm making a lot of components, I won't put the tool down. I just swing it out of the way and keep it in my hand. And since this is a beaded chain, I am taking the time to like work harden and make sure that every single loop and link on my chain is perfectly closed. So, you know, it really looks professional. So then it's just a matter of threading on a bead, and I am doing my loops in opposite directions. So the one-step looper always cuts and wraps up. So I've turned this one down, and you don't have to do that. You can do them all in the same direction. It's just a habit that I've gotten into. And so this time I will use the guide hole, and you can actually let the bead touch the front jaw of the plier, or you can pull it back a little bit. But if you close the tool slowly, you'll see that as you close, it creates a little bit of space, and sometimes that depends on your bead shape. But then I just let the tool make that little cut for me and finish making the loop. And as you can see, I don't have the tool closed all the way, so now I want to pull my little component down so that I can finish closing and let it finish making the loop. And now that loop is centered and perfectly aligned with this one. And if it were not, if somehow you were misaligned, you can just take your second another pair of pliers. So go slowly, and you'll see, it's my experience with wire working that moving slowly yields better results. When you try to like bend wire fast and wrap it really fast, I don't know, for me it doesn't cooperate and do what I'm asking it to do. And so these are simple loops, and they are meant to be open and closed, but I'm going to do all of my connecting with my handmade jump rings. So I am just tidying up every loop, making sure that it's touching there and that it's work hardened, and that little component is done. And so let's move to, this one is exactly the same. That needs to go for another one of these components. I don't waste any wire, but you know, I save my scraps because even a piece like this is really good for making little small components in a beaded chain. So I'm just going to do the same thing and warm, straighten, and, you know, get the wire to do what I want it to do. My loop is centered. I get really consistent loops, which is so beautiful when you're doing a beaded chain. It looks so professional. And then this little pattern was just 2 of those 8/0 seed beads, 1 of these crystal cylinder beads. And I did find that if I had any kind of a burr or any kind of a bend on my 20 gauge wire, that with those crystals that I had to really straighten. They go on the 20 gauge wire, but they need a really straight wire with nothing impeding. So I know I have a really nice strong chain. And then this was the pattern: 2 seed beads, a crystal cylinder, and 2 more seed beads, and it looks like that. And I'm going to do the same thing, turn this loop facing down. So I alternated my opening on my loops throughout the entire piece, but again, that's just my habit that I've gotten into. And this time it's seed beads, but it's essentially the same thing. go slowly. There's my little cut. Let it make the loop. Pull this down so that everything is lined up. And if you feel like as you're closing, you are putting pressure here, stop closing the tool. You can finish with your pliers. I feel like a little bit of pressure there, and I can see that my loop here is a little bit like turned up, but I can make those little adjustments, and that's what I am doing. I am putting my pliers to every single loop to work harden, and so I know I'm going to have this really, really beautiful chain. Like I can see that one's tiny bit crooked, so I am really babying every link because that's the way that I work. But you could do a project like this and make it a little bit more rustic if you wanted to. So that is those loops. And the next thing I'll show you, let me cut another piece of wire. The next thing I'll show you is using your 6-step bail making plier to make a figure 8. And let me just back up here. I just finished this piece as well, and I love this necklace. So this is essentially the same beaded chain, but I used tubeless beads, which I got from the Potomac Beads website, and these same gold seed beads. And instead of connecting each of my components with a handmade jump ring, I just connected this component to the figure 8 and alternated through the whole thing. But this is a larger figure 8. That's a figure 8 made on the second to the smallest step on your bail making plier. That gives you a little bit larger figure 8, but I wanted to do this one really dainty and petite, so I went down to the smallest step on my bail making plier, and so that's the difference. You can see. You can, make them any size that you want. So I'm just going to be using this smallest mandrel, and you do want a nice blunt flat cut on the end of your wire, a nice clean cut. And then I'm going to put that wire in between so that I am wrapping around the smallest mandrel on this plier, and I don't want to feel it. And I'm just going to bend this back, if I can get a hold of it. I'm just going to bend this back till it's a P, kind of, till it's really like touching the wire there. And then I'm just going to remove the bail making plier and put the wire in between again, but this time I'm wrapping in the opposite direction, so it's going to look like that. And I'm just going to wrap around until I meet up. And I will have to, in order for you to see this, let me switch my hand. I wanted to rotate this so you can see. I am pulling this out of my way, this barrel out of my way, so that I can see. Let me turn it. I don't know what I want you to be able to see, and it is a very small figure 8. But I am pulling this wire just so that it meets up with my other wire. Can you see it? And then when I take it off, I already see a beautiful little figure 8. And then I'm going to take the flush side of my cutter and go right here where that wire is meeting the middle of the figure 8 and just snip. So that's my perfect little figure 8. And then just as I was doing on my simple loops, I am just making sure that this is touching that center wire on both sides. And you can kind of tidy that up the way you would a jump ring by swinging it in there. And I'm just like work hardening that little figure 8 loop. So those are the components, and then the jump rings. And as I said, you can totally use your 6-step bail making plier for jump rings, but I have this other jump ring plier, and these are the 2 sizes that I use the most. And this mandrel is just slightly bigger than this one on my bail making plier. I'm not sure if you're able to see that in the camera, but I also have dyslexia, and you'll see me sometimes like seeming to hesitate or like turn a plier in my hand. That happens to me, like just getting my brain to focus on the direction that I need something to go in. So, on a 6-step bail making plier, if you coil toward your hand, you can make a really long row, a long coil of jump rings to cut. But I just love this one. I love the way this fits in my hand. I do have arthritis, so this tool, when I found it, it wasn't expensive. It has a pink handle and it feels good in my hand, and I make my own jump rings most of the time, so I really love this. And I am just going to put it in here, and on this one, because I have all this space, it doesn't matter which direction I start to coil. I can coil away. I can coil in any direction. I don't even have to think about it because I have this nice long mandrel. And that is all I'm going to do, is basically the same thing with the figure 8, except keep going. And just, coil, pushing against my finger. And I use up the whole length of the wire till I really can't go anymore. And so I have that little coil, and you guys, I make a lot of jump rings, so if your coil is not this tight, you will still get good jump rings. And I promise you, at the end of a project like this, where you have made all your own jump rings and all these simple loops, I promise you, you will feel so confident and so adept at these basic jewelry making techniques and basic skills. I mean, I love this project because it's stunning. It's going to be absolutely stunning, but there's nothing earth-shattering here. This is basic. This is like jewelry making 101. So if you're brand new, I urge you to give this a try, because at the end you're going to have this gorgeous set, but you will have really honed your techniques. So same thing that we did with the figure 8 cut, is use the flat side of the cutter, and I just try to snip one ring at a time. Every now and then my cutter will grab, it will grab 2, but I don't try to. And I just try to cut a straight line right up the middle of that coil that I made. Yeah, I grab 2. When you try to go too fast, when you try to do, too many at once, I always end up having problems. You have to like almost respect the wire and go slowly in order to have the wire respond to what you're asking it to do. I had to learn that, and sometimes I still get in a rush and try to do my bends and things really fast, but it never works. And then I'm just going to show you what my pattern is here, and I'll show you the simple connecting. I am doing one of these little prop beads, a figure 8, then 2 of the little crystal components, another figure 8, another prop bead, 2 and 1, and everything is connected with a jump ring in between. So when I'm making all of these loops, I'm making them perfect, and then my connection is with a jump ring. And since I'm recommending this to brand new people, I'm going to show how to properly open a jump ring. So you never want to like pull it apart that way, because you'll destroy the shape and likely never get it back round again. You want to do a twisting motion with a plier on each side of the cut part, and you pull one part of it toward you and push one part away, and that is how you open it. And then I'm going to put it through this, and let's see, coming next was a figure 8, to not get lost in my own pattern here, and just do the same thing in reverse, twist it back together. And when you kind of hear that metal touching, just make sure it's a perfect round. Sometimes I'll put my pliers on the inside of the jump ring and just give it a little squeeze, and I even like to work harden my jump rings like that. And like I said, I'm making this chain, so I am babying every connection and just making it perfect, because it makes me happy to do that, and I don't need to go fast, So then another jump ring, and same thing. And this part is just a simple connecting project from here, opening and closing jump rings, and it just unfolds right before your eyes. It's so pretty. And I'll just pull in my other piece that I did and show you the difference in connecting them directly to each other as opposed to connecting with a jump ring. So this one I did not add in jump rings. This one I just did the components and connected directly to the figure 8, and it's just a different look. So you can really play with making your your patterns. But with a jump ring in between every figure 8 and every simple loop, this is a little bit more chain-like, if you will, and very fluid, and just like a very beautiful chain. Jump rings had a lot of movement and a lot of articulation to a piece. So that is what I'm doing. I'm going to get most of this done off camera. And my idea, I was just playing with this gorgeous pendant that came in the box. I haven't worked out my design yet, but what I'm thinking is I love seeing this on the side. I love seeing this like the stringing material, the wire going through this piece. I have this gorgeous assortment of cone-shaped end caps that was only $8, and I just got it from Amazon, and it just has such a great assortment, and I was just playing with something to top this off. And so 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire fit through the top, and I actually love the articulation, that tiny bit of movement. I love seeing the metal on the side. I just think it's unique and a little bit unexpected. So I am going to play with wire wrapping this and making a really large bail, or my idea was to have a pendant that can be worn or not on this chain. I'm thinking of maybe a hook, or I might do a bail with a magnet. I'm not sure, but I want to be able to wear the chain plain, layer it with other chains, but then if I want to create a necklace with a pendant, be able to attach this. So that's where I'm going with that. When I get to it, I will come back. It is just going to be a second for you. I'm going to complete my length. I'm probably going to need to do components on all of these beads in order to get a bracelet length as well. So my earrings are done. Necklace is in progress, and I'm going to start on my bracelet as soon as I have all these components made. Make another coffee, put on a movie. That's my plan. We have Hurricane Helene barreling toward Florida. They've already given notifications of school closings and things like that. So as long as the electricity holds out, and well, I don't need internet to make jewelry, but when it's stormy like that, as long as we have electricity, I love to sit and work on a project like this during a storm. So that's my plan. It's just going to be a second for you, and I will be back to show you what I'm up to. Okay, I have finished all my components, and I have worked out all the details of my jewelry set. I'm going to start by sharing the necklace design with you, because I have designed this so that if I want it to be a necklace with a pendant, I can add the pendant here, but if I want to wear this as just a chain or a layering chain, it can go this way, and it does not have a clasp. It goes over my head, and I will put some pictures up at the end because I know this is going to be difficult to see because of the length, but I have put a magnetic pave clasp right here. So I finished my pattern. Let me get my hand behind it. I finished my pattern with 1 extra segment of my components and extra figure 8s, and put a jump ring right in the center to accommodate this pave clasp. And I am going to do creative wire wrapped loop. It will look a little weird. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to do this with you guys so you can kind of see my thought process. And I'm going to add this magnetic clasp to the top of this pendant. But then if I want to take it off, I made this little drop, so if I want to wear this as a plain chain, this will be behind my neck because I wear my hair up a lot, but it adds a nice little detail. So it's going to be a pop over your head plain chain to layer or just wear alone, or turn it this way and take this little magnetic half off, and I will attach this one to my pendant. So if you're going to do this design, you do need 2 sets of magnets, and you do waste one because there's negative and positive on the magnets, so you do waste one. But I have a lot of interchangeable things in my own jewelry wardrobe, or things that I've made and keep for myself, so I don't throw those away because you never know when you might want to add another drop. So you do waste half of a magnetic clasp if you like this idea. So let's do this little pendant idea together. And as I said, I really just put another piece of that 20 gauge wire through this component, and my idea is just to kind of, I was even looking to see if I had a large hole bead that might fill in the space on the top of this bead cap. Okay, I just am doing a little bit of creative securing because I want to make sure that this wire is going right up the center, because you know this cone bead cap doesn't actually fit on this, but I do like it. I do like the just the look that it gives, but I want to make sure that this is centered so that when I thread this on, it sits centered, fairly centered. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, I'm really happy with that. And I do think that I might want to put a bead at the top, and I think it might stabilize the bead cap. Let me just see what I have. The little drop that I made, there was one of these flowers in my mix that was in the treasure box this month, and then there were a couple of these faceted check glass rounds that are kind of in that same colorway. Let me see this one. Let me see how it matches. It's a little bit too big. Let me just take a moment and see what I have in the bead mix that might work to that is really pretty. Off. I had a couple of these little saucer check glass saucer beads in there, and they fit really nicely in that hole. So I'm just going to do a normal wire wrapped loop, and I'm going to do the loop going facing forward the same as my pendant, because I'll be attaching it with a jump ring to my pave clasp. So then from here it is just a normal wire wrapped loop. So just bring that wire over the top of the plier, rotate it around, and just get that loop in there. So when I said this project was all of the skills for jewelry makers, I wasn't even thinking I would do a wire wrapped loop, but even that is part of this project. So it is such a great, just such a great project to do all your basic skills and techniques in a set of jewelry. And you could do a messy wrap if you like that look, but I tend to like neat. I just like the neater wraps. This is so cool. I love seeing the wire on the side. I really like this. It's a little bit contemporary and a little bit unexpected. You wouldn't think that that cone bead cap would fit over a pendant bead that is shaped so oddly, but it looks great. I'm just going to get this wire tucked. That is so cool. I really like it. Okay, and now I can just take one of my little jump rings that I made, open it a little bit more, and attach it right to this pave magnetic clasp. Oh, look at this, so cool, you guys. That is so pretty. So if I want to wear the necklace with a pendant, and again, I'll put pictures up at the end of the video, but let me move this out of the way. If I want to wear it as a pendant, I will just pop it over my head like that. And if I don't want to wear it as a pendant, if I just want it to be a chain, I just take that off, put my little flower drop down, and I'll show you what these are. I took one of the little flowers from the bead mix and these flower head pins that I had in my stash, and so that can now be on the back of my neck, and I just pop it over my head, and I have a gorgeous, just a plain chain. And I did my pattern so that, and again, I know that it's long, but I did my pattern so that when I'm wearing it as a plain chain, I have one of those beautiful prop beads right in the center of the chain. So it just mimics the same down both sides. But this is so fun. I just love it. I really loved this as a pendant, but I really wanted this as just a plain beaded chain, a really delicate fluid beaded chain, and I have other chains that I really like, and I was thinking just to layer even a longer one. So I have the best of both worlds. And then my little earrings are done here. I'll lay those out, and my components for my bracelet are also done. Let me set that aside as well. And I took another one of those flower head pins, and I can link those below. So you can totally use your one-step looper to do a simple loop. And this is just, I just wanted in my dangle for my bracelet to just have the elements that are in the set. But I'm going to show you another way that I do a simple loop without a one-step looper. I do like the one-step looper when I'm doing all of these components, because the hand-eye coordination, that human element, makes it so that they're not all perfect. And but on a drop like this, I don't really care if it matches everything else. So I'm just going to put a bend in my wire and come in with my round nose pliers, and this is going to almost look like I am making a wire wrapped loop, but I'm going to just bring it around like that and then rotate those pliers out of the way, the same way we do when we make a wire wrapped loop actually, and just bring that around, get it centered, so it looks like it is ready to be wire wrapped. But I'm going to do kind of the same thing that I did on my figure eights. Just put the flush part of my pliers and just snip right there at where it meets the core or the downward wire. And then I just have to make sure it's closed really well and work harden. And I get a simple loop that way. So that's my method, one of my methods. There are a lot of ways to do simple loops. So I like to show that you can do it with your pliers. So if you don't have the one-step looper and you needed to do simple loops on all of these, you can do them that way. And if you put a mark on the barrel of your round nose plier so that you always place the wire in the same position, your loops will be fairly consistent, so it's really pretty that way. So I did the exact same thing that I did for the necklace and just created a component with those gorgeous beads. I just love them so much, and I really, in the end, I thought about repeating the chain on my bracelet, but I really just wanted to see those beads. And I had a few links of this gorgeous embossed, it's kind of diamond cut. It's a brass chain with an E coating on it so that it doesn't tarnish. It is my favorite chain. I keep replenishing this in my stock, and I have a couple of gold filled diamond cut jump rings here and a gold filled clasp. I can link all of this below. I'll show you the gold filled diamond cut jump rings come in a little collection with several different sizes in it. I love these. They are thick enough and sturdy enough to actually be your clasp that your lobster claw clasps onto. They also, because of the diamond cutting, and I don't know if you can see, but they're a really nice sturdy jump ring. And when you close it really well, you cannot see that it's not a solid ring. So I have replenished these in my supplies a few times. And I'll show you, this was a clasp assortment. So I am going to come right here at the end of this extender chain and add that little dangle that we just made. And these are really nice and thick gauge and diamond cut. So if you take your time and get it closed really well, you cannot see that it is not a solid ring. I think it's so pretty. And so this little lobster claw clasp has a riveting, a spinning base here that you put your jump ring through. And I've also replenished this in my supplies so many times. It's an assortment of gold filled lobster claw clasps. They have a nice weight. Some of them have that little like gear kind of a thing. They're all different. It's an assortment. And I've replenished that I don't even know how many times, because I also like those so much. And I kind of, they're a little bit more expensive supplies than fashion jewelry. So when I'm making something that's specifically for a friend or something that I'm going to keep, I kind of add those to my own, to my own pieces. But I'm just going to use another one of those jump rings, and like this is just simple attaching, and just feed that little beautiful lobster claw on there. And close it really well. And then, you know, this is really adjustable. So making a bracelet this way is so great if you have gifts to make, or if you do like craft fairs, because it really fits anyone. So the best way that I've found to do this is lay the extender chain over your arm, and then you only have to manage, you know, the little clasp, and then you can clasp it anywhere that you want on the chain, and you have this sweet little drop that matches the one that was done here. Oh my goodness, this is the kind of bracelet that I will just wear and wear and wear, and this is so pretty. This is so denim friendly, and I just love these beads. So I really wanted those beads to be featured and to be on my wrist, and so I only have, oh, now I can't get it off. That's okay, I can sleep in this bracelet. But I only have one more thing to do to make this jewelry set complete. Let me clear a little space. If you've been around my channel, you can probably already guess what that is. But I am going to use my Permalac anti-tarnish coating. I use the semi-gloss. I will also link this below. It is the best one of these products I have found. I've ordered a couple of different ones from Amazon, and the way this is packaged with the little brush is super easy. It dries really fast. And so like this little cone cap is just fashion jewelry, and it will tarnish. So I am just going to put a coat of this on this little cap, just all the way around, and even where underneath, wherever I can see metal, just brush it. And this is so cool because you can even brush it over the surface of a bead. If you have a bead with etching, you can do that. Now, all of my wire in this project has an anti-tarnish coating, so I don't need to do that. But the cool thing about this is that I can brush this right over this pave magnetic clasp, over the crystals and everything, and it will not cloud them. Now, I'm just going to give you a heads up. I just discovered this myself because I have never ordered the matte version of this anti-tarnish coating, and it is available on the Potomac Beads website, but one of my friends ordered the matte by mistake, and she brushed it over something that was crystals, and the matte version will cloud your crystals. So if you had matte beads that maybe the coloring, the dye was coming off and you really love them and you wanted the matte for that, or even some satin metals that are matte and not shiny metallic, it could be good for that. But I pretty much always order the semi-gloss, and so I don't need it on my gold-filled jump rings. This little chain is e-coated. All of my chain, you know, my chain in my project is anti-tarnish. My little lobster claw clasp is not supposed to tarnish. So on this piece right here, this little gold-plated flower head pin, it is gold plated, but it will still tarnish over time. So I'm just going to brush my Permalac coating over that, and even the loop, even this little loop that I made at the top, because that whole head pin, you know, it will darken, and I don't want it to darken. I really love this. It dries really, really fast, and these are 24 karat gold plated, these little hearts, but I want this to last, and so you don't see when you have done this. And I should get, like when I have a whole jewelry set to do, sometimes I'll just take a piece of plastic bag or something out of my trash bag and just brush it over everything. And you know, it really just adds longevity. If you are selling your jewelry or giving it as a gift, it is just a nice step to add quality. And I will also link these interchangeable gold-filled lever back ear wires in the description box. Anything that I've used that I've found that I think is a good product, I always put it in the description box, as well as the links to the Potomac Beads treasure box. And I always say, you know, if you're not into another box, which I completely understand because I get a lot of boxes every month, don't overlook the the website, because you don't have to get a monthly box to take advantage of Potomac beads. They have a whole section for crystal beads. They have a whole section for seed beads. They have a whole section for the Athena cast line, and on like that, tools and everything. It is so great. And if you use the link that's in the description box of my video, it helps out the channel, but it doesn't cost you anything. So I thank you so much for watching. I will put some pictures up at the end of the video and kind of give you a little bit better look. I know that my beading mat is a little bit small when I do a long chain like this, but I hope everybody is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, jewelry making friends.